So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce a great man. I'm a friend of mine on the radio, Victor Jakes. And all I can say is, if you've ever watched the UFC, it's time! Let's go.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm thrilled to be able to moderate this forum between the candidates who want to replace Governor Steve Sisolak. I know everyone is looking forward to that day, so let's not waste any time. Let's welcome them to the stage. Up first is Michelle Fiore, a Las Vegas... I'm sure she's somewhere. She is a Las Vegas City Councilwoman, probably talking to someone right now, a Republican National Committee woman. She previously served in the legislature and is a proud mom and grandma. Welcome, Councilwoman Fiore. John Lee is a devoted family man, a visionary business leader, and current mayor of North Las Vegas. He also has previous experience in the state legislature, and he's extremely lucky to be married to his wonderful wife, Marilyn. Great to have you, Mayor. Dr. Fred Simon is a trauma surgeon. Welcome. A medical director of a major trauma center, small businessman, and national legal expert from Gardnerville, Nevada. Very excited to have you, Dr. Simon. Joey Gilbert is a father first, a former fighter, a lawyer, a businessman who has been active in several battles over coronavirus restrictions. We're very excited to have you, Mr. Gilbert. Dean Heller grew up in Carson City and has served Nevada as Secretary of State, an Assemblyman, a United States Congressman, and a United States Senator. He and his wife Lynn have been married for 37 years and have 4 children and 5 grandchildren. We're very excited to have you, Senator Heller. And Guy Nora is a visionary entrepreneur who helped He has helped build 180 innovative biotech and medical technology companies that produce critical medical breakthroughs, save lives, and created thousands of American jobs. Well, we're all excited to hear from the candidates. We're going to have 2 minutes for the first question and 90 seconds thereafter. And at the end, the candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. As a father of 5, I'm used to people not listening to me when I tell them it's time to stop. But I have faith that our candidates are going to do exactly that, take their time and pass the mic when it is necessary. And I'm also confident that our audience members will respect people who want to listen, and everyone will get a chance. So let's start right off. 2 minutes. Councilwoman Fiore, we're going to start with you. And in lieu of a formal opening statement, we ask the candidates to prepare for this question. Will you please give us an overview of your leadership experience, including principles you use to make necessary but potentially unpopular decisions, and an example of how you have dealt with a crisis?
Thank you so much, Mr. Jakes. So my name is Michelle Fiore, and thank you. I am your proven America First conservative servant leader. I've been serving you guys for a decade. And so the question, as an overview of my experience leading, is number 1, battling our conservative values and making sure that our freedoms are fought for. When you ask about a crisis, how do we respond to crisis? I've been in several, and let me tell you how we do that. We do it head on. First crisis, I'll give you 3 examples. Governor Sisolak wanted to shut our city down. We said, hell no. You ain't shutting city of Las Vegas down, and we did not shut down. Not one meeting did we miss. Governor Sisolak said, mandate vaccines. Again, City of Las Vegas said, hell no. None of our 3,600 employees are forced to get a vaccine. If you want a vaccine, get one, that's great, but you're not forced. Another crisis situation, 2014, federal government came into our state with guns pointing. Being in the crosshair of a federal agent's sniper, you want to talk about a crisis? How did I handle that? Head on, boots on the ground, standing up for Nevadans, standing up for ranchers. That's what a true leader does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here today, and Victor, for you too. Just a little bit about me. I've been married 47 years to that beautiful little blonde over there. We have 7 children and 30 grandchildren, 1 great-grandchild. So we've been really doing our thing here. But when it comes to business, because I see I'm around a lot of business people today. I owned Vegas Plumbing Service for many, many years, Champion Tile and Marble, another big construction company. I started a bank, Nevada First Bank, a De Novo bank that started in this community. I had a Series 6, 63, and 26 security license so I could learn how to handle my money better. I had a company called Executive Limousine for a while until I sold that. And I'm an original investor in a little company in Nevada called Switch. So we've done very, very well in our business career here, but the whole time I was in business, I also served in the state legislature. I served for 14 years in the legislature. 6, am I done? Oh, 6 in the state assembly and 8 in the Senate. And in those years, I had an A rating with the NRA. I was actually Legislator of the Year nationwide for the NRA, all legislators in the whole country. They brought me back to the board of directors meetings and gave me that. I could tell you why later. I had an A rating, and I was elected. Southern Nevada Sports Shooting Foundation made me the Legislator of the Year for that organization, the SHOT Show, and all those people for getting rid of the blue card. I have an A rating with the Nevada Right to Life organization my whole 14 years. I was the LBGEA Chairman's Award winner for all the work that we've been doing in North Las Vegas. Because North Las Vegas was going under, and I know you people in the Henderson saw the plight we were in, I became I became mayor. And we were $156 million in debt, and we were about out of business. We fixed that. All the ratings of the bonds were down to F and junk. We are now A-rated again. And so the Cities Counties magazine brought me and made me National Elected Official of the Year nationwide for these kind of activities. So these are the things I do. I love running businesses, and I love running government. And my big challenge in life, I had stage 4 cancer. I tried to fight through it.
All right.
And I lived. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. All right, Dr. Simon.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Fred Simon from Gardnerville, Nevada, where there are more cattle than there are Democrats. I'm a trauma surgeon intensivist. I'm a sepsis and COVID expert. I have spent most of my life in crisis. It's organized crisis, but that's what trauma is. When I initially started my career in medicine, I volunteered with the Big Brothers, JCs, and I've used that learning. I have mentorships in all my businesses. I've owned a semi-professional soccer team, restaurant, autos. And then when I got into medicine, I took over the education aspect of the training for all of the doctors from Balboa Naval Hospital, which was the largest naval hospital in the world, getting them ready to go to Iraq and Afghanistan. Then I started a program with Pendleton for the Navy and Marine medics, getting them upgraded to handle warfare and take care of their brethren. I took over a major trauma center, re-engineered it from private to trauma intensivists, and verified by the American College of Surgeons Committee on Trauma. Then all of a sudden, this circumstance happened. I left practice and went to Denver in an understaffed COVID ICU. 67 years old, putting myself at risk, seeing helpless, distressed people, staff and patients. Patients dying without having to voice a last word, no families there. There were no process and protocols. Being an experienced clinician, I put forward the process and protocols for this hospital, this ICU, during the crisis, for operative intervention, for the respiratory people, and then I realized the collusion between government and the industrial healthcare complex collusion. They didn't care about people. It was for profit and taking away our personal rights.
Thank you, Dr.
And that's
Simon.
why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, guys, Joey Gilbert, and the question was, including our principles used to make necessary to make decisions. First of all, our governor's a corrupt jerk. All right, just a waste of space. It didn't take me long to figure that out. Son of a Marine, was in the military, was a fighter, and you know what? You adjust, you make it, adaptations, and you move forward. And in March 2020, we got hit with something that I knew wasn't as bad as they were trying to make it out to be. So I immediately sprung into action. I looked at what was possible to treat COVID-19, and coronaviruses aren't new, not to this world. And so I quickly found that out. Sprang into action, filed a lawsuit to get Nevadans early treatment access to hydroxychloroquine, which prevented the governor from extending his ridiculous mandate. Next thing you know, we got Pastor Jimmy Morales in here. I didn't think it was fair that the churches were shut down, the casinos were open, dispensaries were open, big box stores open, churches were closed. So we sued him there too. We've also sued him to get the masks off our kids, to stop forcing the Fauci ouchie, which was on CNN the other night, forcing the Fauci ouchie. And in the city of Reno, I might not have been a councilman or whatever the deal is. I was a private citizen, and I threatened to sue them if they forced it on the city of Reno employees, so they backed off. That's what we need to do. We need someone who's going to step up, accountability. At the end of the day, someone to hold these people accountable. I am a father first, I'm a fighter, I'm a businessman and entrepreneur, and I'm here to do a job. That's it. I'm accountable to the people. This is not my race, this is our race. This is our time to take this state back. And we will do that if we work together. Most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, apathy. I bring excitement, I bring passion, all right, I bring engagement. If we have a culture of winning back in this state, we will dominate. And we will send these guys packing, which is where they need to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor, and Jesse also, and the county party for being here today. I want to also thank everybody that's up here on the stage with me. You know, it's hard to run for office. You can imagine, it's hard to run for office. And for everybody to put their names in, I congratulate you and thank you for your hard work and effort. But I also want to thank everybody that's here also. Let's begin by saying this. Nevada is in crisis. And the first thing that you do when you're in crisis is you show up. Right, Sheriff? Now, Steve Sisolak has put Nevada at the top of every bad list in America. Every bad list. Unemployment, graduation rates, crime rates, suicide rates, all of those rates. We are at the top. And do you know what I do when I see a crisis? I run for office. That's what you do. You run for office when you see a need, when you see a crisis. And this is time. This is time to make a change. We are a great party. We have a real opportunity here. Remember, we're about faith, we're about family, and we're about freedom. And that's what's going to win in November. Thank you very much. I look forward to the conversation.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Guy Nora. GUI, Guy, you all know the story. When I saw this question, I thought to myself, which story should I tell you? When I was 15, manning a checkpoint in Beirut, Lebanon in the Civil War, and I was the lead of the group, or when I was captain of my track team in high school, or when I was the fraternity vice president in college. I chose a different story. I chose a story from my work. As you all know, I'm a venture capitalist investing in life sciences. We had a decision we had to make on a company, a cancer company, gene therapy cancer company. And the reason why that's important is we had 9 partners in the room that were going to vote. Okay? Gene therapy is very complicated, and back then when we did the actual investment, it was not a slam dunk. It was very complex stuff and really tough science. And the team was divided, 4 to 4. Why? The people against the deal were saying, look, gene therapy has killed people, we have no proof this is going to work, what happens if there's a cytokine storm, et cetera, et cetera. Great questions. The 4 team was saying, this is going to cure cancer if it works. Just imagine, for the first time in our career, we can actually invest in a company that cures cancer. Okay, debate goes back and forth. 20 minutes, 40 minutes. I weigh in. I hadn't voted yet. I voted yes on the deal. Why? A, because the science had come from a very, very strong scientist that I knew. B, the CEO of the company had had 2 successes before and was about to have a 3rd one. We did the deal. Company did very well. It's CAR-T technology. It does cure cancer. I was checking this morning on the way in. Remission rates of 80% right now, 5 years after. Amazing stuff, folks. Very early. Why does this matter? Because I'm going to be faced as your governor with very complex situations with very smart people, or people who think they're smart trying to make decisions. And I'm going to have to weigh in, make a decision, and lead. And that's what you do at the governor level. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you all very much. We're going to start with you, Mayor Lee, for this next question. Leaving COVID aside, what is your most important policy priority? What specific action will you take on it, knowing that Democrats may control at least one chamber in the legislature?
Ooh, that's a good question. So the first order of business in Nevada is to stay in business. And right now we've got agencies within our state that are not doing their job at all. I mean, if you got unemployed during this last recession, you didn't get your money for months and months and months. We have an infrastructure problem in the state of Nevada. We have too many divisions and departments that are not giving the residents of this state the social contract. They're paying taxes, they're not getting the services. The first thing you need to do as a governor is understand the business. This is a business in Nevada. And so my goal is to be not to try to be a national leader, but to fix Nevada at the core, make it easier to do business here, make it easier to get permits, make it easier for people to put money into their pockets and build and attract new business in the state of Nevada to diversify the economy, and we can become successful again with a more diverse economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Simon, same question for you. What's your most important policy priority, and what specific actions will you take on it?
Well, I think the first and foremost thing is we need to have a fair election. And I think on day one, we need to tell the legislature they need to put a bill on my desk with voter ID with verification. And then we have to make sure that in the next elections, we go ahead and make our voting day a national holiday. We have President's Day, Martin Luther King Day. We have Veterans Day and Memorial Day for those who have served to preserve this right. There will be no excuses then of not going to the polls. We don't need mail-in ballots. We don't need anything that has to do with the shenanigans going on. We don't need voting machines. We need people to come to the polls on a holiday that represents the most sacred thing we have in our democracy, voting. That's what I'll do day one.
Can you repeat the question, Victor?
Absolutely. What is your most important policy priority, leaving COVID aside, and what specific action will you take to advance it, knowing Democrats may control at least one legislative house?
Well, I think Dr. Simon hit it on the head, and that's something I would do immediately is AB 321's got to go away. It's got to be fixed. All right, voter ID, no more mail-in ballots, no more universal ballots. So day one, but if I had to pick one thing, the priority is our schools. Fixing our dysfunctional, bottom-of-the-barrel, 50th in the nation schools, and at the end of the day, it drives everything else. We can't bring folks to this state. We can't diversify because what am I going to tell business owners? Come to Nevada. We promise you the least educated workforce. So this is truly, guys, it's the most important part of this. And again, as I said, this is what the people have told me. Fixing our schools and fixing our elections fixes everything. Fair elections means all these scumbags are out, and better schools mean our kids have a chance at life and a chance at the American dream.
There's no doubt that we have a crisis of confidence when it comes to the election system throughout this country, but especially here in the state of Nevada. There's a reason why the federal government wants to take over elections. Number one, they don't want Trump elected again. And number two, they're wrong on every issue. If you're wrong on the border, if you're wrong on the economy, if you're wrong on schools, if you're wrong on crime, what do? You try to take over the elections. And that's what they're trying to do back in Washington, D.C. as we speak. I think our elections are important. I'm former Secretary of State. We had a crisis of confidence when I became Secretary of State. We changed the laws and made it and did everything we possibly could so that everybody in here could trust the results of their elections. We're back to where we were again, where we were then. And it's time to make the necessary changes. On day one, voter ID goes. And you also have to prove that you're a citizen here in this state. There's some real opportunities to make some good changes in the state. But if you don't trust your elected officials, if you don't trust the person that was elected, you don't think it was done on regular order and done properly, it's going to be hard to lead this state. And I'm telling you right now, for any of us here to lead this state, you have to be confident that the way this election run was fair. And that's the number one change really that has to be made for this state to move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks. So, of course, this is additive, right? So everything that everybody says I agree with, but I'm not going to repeat it. For me, after we win, we're going to have an audit of every department in the state that reports to me. All 16, 17 of them, whatever you want to say. We're going to audit everything they do. We're going to look at all the metrics that matter. We're going to look at all the information that they have and how we can make it better so that day one when I come in and I meet with every head of every department that reports to me, they're going to know what their goals are. It's going to be management by objectives. No more just kind of running around and hoping that you do your best and maybe the DMV opens, maybe it doesn't, maybe the unemployment checks come in, maybe they don't. Everybody's going to be responsible to me as their CEO. And that's how we're going to do day one. That will be the one priority. Of course, along with everything else we're talking about here on stage. But governance is very important, and we're a very badly managed state. Thank you, Mr. Sisolak.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So putting COVID aside, number one, the mandates have to be rolled back. Why? That stimulates our economy. Right now, our schools get shut down because they don't have enough teachers. Why? Because they force the teachers to resign. How does that affect our economy? When the teachers are forced to resign, they go for unemployment, they get denied. We have to get our people working and understand we've done this. So the first priority is getting government out of the way of our folks, our teachers, our nurses, and getting everyone back to work. Number one. And when I say roll it back, the people that were hurt through this thing, they get all back pay. So understand, we have a big job to do. We've done it before, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All right, Dr. Simon, we're going to start with you. You're now talking to the people in this room as though you have just become governor. What would you say the role of the Clark County Republican Central Committee is, and what would you do to strengthen the Republican Party?
Well, I'm starting to do that right now. I'm bringing candidates to town halls that aren't just me. I'm bringing lieutenant governors, and I'm bringing Senate candidates to town halls to put forth so that all of you can see these candidates. When it comes to the Clark County Republican Party, let me tell you, you'll have an active governor who will campaign on the down issue. We go to the school boards and I campaign for them, commissioners, mayors. The governor needs to be very active in the party, pushing forth really good candidates. And what I've done in trying to get other candidates with me, we aren't all going to win, but we have an election in 24. So we need a good, solid, constitutional conservative to run against Rosen. So presently I'm active, and when I'm governor, I'll be extremely more active. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey guys, well, as your governor, I'll do what I've been doing the last 22 months. I'll be attending school board meetings. I will be going to county commission meetings. I will really be that guy. Yes, I will. I haven't missed a county commission meeting in Reno. I've zoomed into probably every one of them in the state. And as governor, I would work to bring everyone together. As I said, the only way we lose is apathy. All right? It's not that the Marxists are winning. The conservatives have sat down. So we need someone that's going to hold people accountable, bring in the excitement, bring in the passion, and I would be getting around. I would be at every meeting that I could be at, and if not, I'd have someone there, and I would be doing the same thing. We're working on these down ballot races. How we do this is we replace them all. Not one race should go unopposed in this state. Not one race. And that's what we do to take it back.
Well, the first thing I'd say is thank you for electing me governor. We can start there. Let me begin by this. What Republican governors are doing across this country, one, is they're providing for better jobs, not just good jobs, but better jobs. If you have an R behind your name and you're in a red state, do you know the economic growth? The economic growth in those states, 9 out of top 10 are Republican states, and that's what Republican governors do. You're going to have a better educational system in your state. That's what Republican governors are doing. You're going to have less crime in your neighborhoods because that's what Republican governors are doing. Compare what this governor has done versus Utah. At the height of COVID, when he shut this place down, we had the second highest unemployment in the nation. Yet if you go 100 miles east to Utah, you had the lowest unemployment in the nation. And the difference was between a red governor and a blue governor. I also say this, and this is statistics I saw this morning. We have all these rules, all these restrictions, COVID, masks, even mandates for to get the vaccine, and yet here in Nevada, our mortality rate is twice what Utah's is today, and they don't have any of the mandates. They don't have any of the restrictions, and yet we have twice the mortality rate here in Nevada. It's just bad governing, and when Republican governors do well, the party does well.
Thank you very much.
Victor, can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. You've just become governor. What would you say the role of the Clark County Republican Central Committee is, and what would you do to strengthen the Republican Party in Nevada?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at best practices across the United States at parties and governors that work with their parties. That's very, very important. They exist. They don't exist necessarily in some of the places that we know, but they definitely exist in many states in the United States. I'm going to copy what that governor is doing because I have spoken to some of these governors and I've spent some time with them. In this case, as the titular head of the party, as the governor, of course you're going to work with Jesse and his team, and you're going to get things going because you're the lead, you're the person, you're the face of the party, and you're always coordinating with the party, in this case in Clark County, to your question, and always working together to get us elected, to get people fired up. We have an amazing base this year, and you are so ready, all of you. I see you everywhere I go. We can coordinate with our party chair and do an amazing job going forward, and we will use best practices because that's what it takes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So as I become your governess, I'm going to tell you, as your Republican National Committee woman, we have 17 counties, and I've been to all 17 counties for the past 6 years, and we've got to continue doing that as your governor and building this party together. With our Central Committee here, Jesse Law, number one, I just have to tell you, he works tirelessly for free, okay? So understand that has to change. We have to raise enough money to where our chairman actually gets paid, because when you have kids, thank you, let's give him a round of applause. When you have kids, okay, you have to support them. And when you're doing a full-time, overtime job for free, it's rough. So understand, as your next governor, we are going to raise enough money to make sure our chairs are able to sustain, unless they're retired and they don't need it. And another thing, traveling these states and helping each of these counties is very important, just like we were in Lyon County last week, and we're going to be in Virginia City this weekend. So as your next governor, bringing this party together, just look at each other as if you're my brother or sister, and literally exude that love. And let's not forget that. We have to work together. I want to explain, we are not a democracy. We are a republic. And thank you. So know that. Never call us a democracy. We are a republic. And if we don't get our voting together, we're going to lose this republic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are 50 states in this union. 28 of them have Republican governors. 20 of them don't. And so 20, and the other two are California and New York. You're never going to get them. Our job in Nevada is to take the state over, to hopefully the other states will come up with good conservative governors, and we can fix this country from the bottom up. There's a sickness in this country, and it's called Congress. I will tell you this, though. It's interesting that you can be the governor of the state, and once again, if you don't have the legislature with you, all you are is a veto governor. That's all you can do. If you don't have a good lieutenant governor taking some of the load, if you don't have a secretary of state fighting for the voter fraud that's taking place, if you don't have an attorney general that's fighting with other attorney generals to keep things from happening from the federal government to us, you are not going to be very effective. As the role of the governor in this state is to make sure this state turns red and stays red for the next 10 years. I will do that. I have never seen a Republican governor able to accomplish that. That would be my goal, to set this state up so we once again become a free state to be able to enjoy with our families and understand the assurity of having a good governance that we can depend on.
Thank you all so much. All right, Mr. Gilbert, we're going to start with you for the next one. Everyone makes mistakes. What was the most significant failure that you have had, and what lessons did you learn from that, and how do those lessons equip you to be Nevada's next governor?
Well, that's a great question. So, years ago, as a young fighter, I took there were supplements, there were performance-enhancing drugs. Didn't know what they were at the time. Was just taking whatever I was given as a athlete. You get sponsors, and so I took it. And after a athletic commission test, I popped positive. I had declared some things in my pre-fight physical, which were prescriptions, which were allowed to let go, but there was a banned substance in there. And for 14 months, I fought it. I took a lie detector test and passed it. But at the end of the day, I learned that you're liable and you're responsible for what's in your system. I had to accept responsibility for that. I spent 14 months out of the ring. In the height of my career, I lost my title belts. I lost my world rankings. It went from being at the top, the golden boy, to getting dumped on your head. And you had to start rebuilding. And, it was a tough time. But I'll tell you this, I learned that you just got to persevere. You got to bite down, fight back. And now it's a message. I have a book coming out called The Championship Formula with Joey Gilbert. And I've been speaking to kids. I work with athletes. I tell them, listen, the only thing that's going to get you there is hard work, dedication, determination, sacrifice, and be careful. Because, everyone's got a little secret shortcut. And you think about that, under a lot of pressure, you think this might help you. Well, I'll just say this. I counsel these young men and women. I say, it's not worth it. You're responsible 100% for something that goes in your system. And if you do and it's illegal, it's on you. And I learned that tough lesson, and I'll never repeat it.
Well, Victor, you got me in this one. I'll have to say I'm a lucky man. I'll just say that. I am a very lucky man. As I was introduced, I have 5 grandchildren. By the way, they were all at my house this week. It was for the first time to see all 5 of my grandchildren in one place. We call it Cousin Club. But we have 4 children. They're all doing great. I've been married for 37 years to a wonderful woman. And, my political career has been great. I won 9 statewide races, and I lost my 10th. I guess I didn't want to lose my 10th statewide race, but that's just the way things go, and you understand, and you learn from those things. I didn't leave. I didn't stop. I didn't say, hey, I don't want to participate in this process anymore. I saw a need. I saw an opportunity, and that is why I'm in this race. And that's why I continue to push harder every single day. And when we had COVID and things were shut down, I was working for my wife, getting that farm up and running. We're doing great things out there. So I have to be honest with you. I have a great life. I really do. I work hard every day to make sure that your life is better, that my kids' life are better, that your children's life are better, so that we can move this state forward. So anyway, sorry that I don't have a more dramatic issue on that one, but again, I am blessed. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much, Senator Heller.
Thank you. Victor, it's not if you fail, it's when you fail. Everybody fails, right? Especially in the culture that the Silicon Valley culture, where people will start 2, 3, 4 companies, and Steve Jobs, after his first Apple foray, did Next, and then came back to Apple and just took it over from then, and it changed the world, right? So failure is not something to be afraid of. Failure is something you learn from. And as your governor, if I come in day one, thank you. you know, there will be mistakes made, but you fix them, and you fix them immediately. To give you an example, the head of the unemployment department in our state, they would have been fired day 2 of their failures. And then we would have gotten another one, and they would have failed, and they would have been fired too. People fail. There are, you have results for failure. You fail, you fix it, because you can. And that's my message to everybody. That's what United States of America is based on. You know, we stumble, and we get right back up. That's what we do. Thank you.
Yes, everyone makes mistakes. What is the most significant failure that you have had, and how have the lessons you've learned from that mistake prepared you to be Nevada's next governor?
Well, I'll tell you, failure really isn't failing when you learn from it, okay? You have to know that. I've had several companies, some great, some not so great. But every time one failed, the next one succeeded a little bit more because I knew it. I can tell you sometimes I think to myself, I don't fight hard enough. I don't smack enough people to get my point across, right? But I'll tell you, being in this political arena, you gotta fight, and you gotta fight hard. And sometimes, I know I'm not a delicate flower. However, sometimes I go home at night and I say, I should have kicked that reporter's ass a little harder, right? Because they lie in this fake news. So I'm going to tell you the failures that I have isn't fighting hard enough, getting more in people's faces, and explaining what we've done. And I will fight even more and fight harder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mine's kind of unique, but just like theirs, I think not real failures like Dean says, but challenges that I've had to go through. And I don't say this for sympathy. Man, when I had stage 4 cancer, I was dying. I went from like 265 to about 190, lost all my hair. It was time to give up. I was done, and just to keep fighting through cancer, just being a cancer survivor these days is an exciting thing to be. Before that, 20 years ago, you wouldn't have survived, but it takes a tough personal desire to want to live. The other one was that recession we went in 2008. That was the saddest time of my life. I had a great company. Things were growing great. 2008, most of us lost all our employees. 2009, most of us lost our businesses and a lot of our assets back to the bank. 2010, a lot of us lost our families. Our wives left, our kids, everybody. We just gave up. It was tough. But to come back from having a $10 value and finding out your value went down to $3 and wanting to fight again and survive and build again, that's the thing that makes a governor great. A guy that looks at the situation, or pardon me, Michelle, or lady, who looks at the situation, says, I can do better. I'm not quitting. Life is worth living, and I'm going to give it all I got. As your governor, I will continue to have that kind of lifestyle. I make $50,000 a year working for the city of North Las Vegas, and I give them $2 million worth of value. So I will work that hard for you as governor, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I came from a father of the greatest generation, and he was tough. And he made me everything I am. We had some issues when I was in medical school and my residency, and we parted ways intellectually and lovingly for about 15 years. And it was really my selfishness and my narcissism. Going through medical school, my residency, and I didn't have the focus on what was important. Family wasn't about me. And what he was trying to teach me, even though he was a young man who lost his parents at 11 years old, went to the Navy at 16 years old, I didn't look to understand him. And he taught me a great lesson, and we came back together. It's not about us. It's about our family. It's about citizens. It's about a commitment to other people. And 2 words I learned never to use again: regret and resent. I do not regret that time. I don't resent it. I learned a great lesson. He and I got back together, but from that moment forward, I realized I needed to be a different human being. Go beyond myself. Go to the citizens. Go to your family.
Thank you all. All right, I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this next question because there's a couple of distinct parts. Will you tell us the greatest need in each of the following areas: the Las Vegas Valley, the Reno Metroplex, and rural Nevada? And remember, we have 2 minutes for this.
All right. Well, we'll start down here. The biggest restriction here in this valley is going to be the amount of water that we have. If you want to restrict the growth is critically important, and you can't have the kind of growth we need without the water coming down. But I would take it even further than that, and I'd say the number one issue right now that we have here in this valley is the increase in crime. Do you know that the murder rate here in Clark County right now is higher than the murder rate in Guatemala? Think about that. Murder rate here in Las Vegas is higher than that in Guatemala. And why are we there? We're there because we have a sanctuary city. We're here because our sheriff practices catch and release. These are the reasons why let's just be clear. You want to live in a dangerous neighborhood? Want to live in a dangerous neighborhood? Live in a sanctuary city. It's that simple. And the question is, and the problem that we have now here in Clark County is that we have 250,000 immigrants that are coming over our southern borders, and when they're looking for places to put them, they bus them to sanctuary cities. That's what they do. So the biggest problem that we have in the rest of the state, in Washoe County, in Winnemucca and Elko, is that they now have gang and drug problems. When you put the illegal immigrations into sanctuary cities, they don't just stay there. They don't just stay there. They move around the state. So now we have drug problems and we have gang problems in Winnemucca. We have the same problems in Elko. And this is all starting here in this county because we deemed it a sanctuary city. That has to change. And that's one of the things that I'm going to do when I'm this governor is we will not have any sanctuary cities here in the state of Nevada, including Las Vegas. And that's a day one. That's a day one activity, is we are going to stop what's going on here. By the way, we're going to also protect your Second Amendment also. And we will make a constitutional carry. Critical constitutional carry will be the law of the land here in the state of Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question, by the way. So you got Clark County, you got Washoe County, and then you got the rurals. Now, I've spent a lot of time at all of the above, and I'm going to spend more time at all of the above. But I hear slightly different things, and that's really important. Down here, I hear about education and crime a lot. And that's something we're going to have to address, all of us. And it's something we're all addressing and we're talking about. If you go to the slightly the other extreme, when I go to the rurals, I hear a lot about, hey, they're infringing on my Second Amendment. What do you think about that? Yeah, they are infringing on it. Every time these guys pass something in Carson and the governor signs it, we're being infringed on. So that's something I also pay attention with them. Washoe is kind of in the middle. I think people talk a lot about homelessness. I think they're shocked at what's happening with the homelessness situation. They ask me, what can we do about it? My answer is, it's unfortunately not a one-issue situation. It's many put together. It's drug use. It's mental issues. It's not simple, and you have to have some very complex, multifactorial people working together trying to solve these kind of problems. So to me, we're a big state. We have several stakeholders, and we've got to address all of them. And in my mind, that's how I kind of triage them. But of course, we're going to address everybody's because they're all our people, our voters, our constituents. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we've got Clark and Reno and the rurals, and I'm going to tell you, I'll start with the rurals because the rurals are truly the heart of Nevada. In the rurals, we have land issues and water issues. When I say land issues, when Nevada became a state, 23 minors did the U.S. Constitution, did the Nevada State Constitution. What they do, they gave 87% of our land to the federal government. Understand, that comes with our water and our land, so we need to take that back. And thank you. And I've been in this fight for a decade, so I can just tell you, standing here with you, I have fought for Nevada's land and water for a decade, arm to arm against the federal government. And we have won, and we've lost some. But I will tell you, the sheriffs in the rural counties need to get together because guess what they can do? They have the authority to kick the Bureau of Land Management away from harassing their constituency, and we will. So as the governor of this state, I stand with the people, not the federal government. I've stood against them before, we've won, and we're going to do it again. In Clark County, we have homelessness and crime, right? Homelessness, we're dealing with making sure that everyone, their private property rights are enforced. If you have someone on your property that don't need to be there, they're out. We put a no camping ban into the city of Las Vegas. So the city, and then the crime and the sanctuary city of what Dean Heller was talking about, that's all on Joe Lombardo, and he's not here to answer that. That's his problem. Okay, then thank you. In Washoe, we have another issue. Again, crime, homelessness. They go to the two biggest counties. These things, working together with all the municipalities, the counties, the cities, to make sure and understand what homelessness is. Right now in this time and era of COVID, it could be abused women. It could be people that need to step up because they lost their job and they don't have a place to go. So there are resources that we need to help and direct them to, and at the same time protect citizens' private rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the question also. We talked about crime here, and it is a very important issue in this valley here. Now, I want you to know, years ago, if you told somebody you lived in North Las Vegas, they thought you were a crime victim every day. It was not like that. I grew up there. It was great. We didn't beat up our neighbors, but there was crime over there. Now, as me being mayor, since I've been mayor, we put $10 million more into our police budget. We have 200 new people that work for the police department and replace some retirees, and we've opened up our jail. We are fourth in the state now in crime behind Las Vegas, which is Metropolitan Police Department. We are behind Reno and Sparks, so we are really knocking crime out of North Las Vegas. Fact is, if you come to North Las Vegas, you do crime, you're not going to like our cops very much. They're going to get you. The other thing is, I'm on a Leave Me Alone tour. When you go to the rurals, all they really want to do is have a communication with the governor, with the legislature. I'm the mayor of the third largest city in the state, and I can't get this guy to ever call me up and ask me what's going on in this area. He sequesters himself with his political people and does not reach out and talk to anybody. The rurals need to have some recognition that they're out there. They don't want them much. They want you to leave them alone more than they actually overhelp them. They're going to be great residents continually, but they need to get services like DMV and stuff like that. Reno and Las Vegas, education is a big thing. In North Las Vegas, we started our own school district for our first responders, and we knew that COVID was going to happen. When we knew what COVID had happened to us, we had firefighters, police officers, essential people who were not coming to work. They were staying home with their children. So if you called and you had a heart attack, half the fire stations were browned out. The police stations, everybody was staying home with their families. We started a school. Our senior centers were closed. Our libraries were closed. We brought in some professional educators. We brought in computers. We did everything we could to make sure those first responders and the essential people that work for the city had somewhere to take their children and not leave them at home by themselves. So we react in North Las Vegas to all these important issues. We will react in the state of Nevada for the same reasons.
Being a trauma surgeon, trauma is the window to all America. And I'll agree, we have a problem in Las Vegas with crime. No question about it. What do? We have to worry about business because we are having crime on the Strip. We have to worry about our husbands and wives and children going out because of the crime, secondary to homeless and gangs. We bring in tough people here, like Giuliani and Bernie Kerik, and we make federal gun laws in this state. You have a gun, 5 years is where you're going to prison. We have to break down the gun gangs with RICO laws. That's where you have drugs, oxycodone, and fentanyl. We have to really be tough. If we don't get the right person as sheriff, the governor will take a hold of this problem. The rurals, there are no doctors in Hawthorne, Urington, Fallon, Fernley, shortage of doctors in Elko, shortage of doctors in Mesquite. 65% of physicians now belong to hospitals. Hospitals are not our friends anymore. They control the money. They don't deliver the care. We don't have access. That needs to change immediately. Reno. Reno has a problem of overdevelopment. They brought in a lot of industrial companies. We have underemployment. We can't find employees. It's a huge problem. We've got to slow down the development. We have to find employees to work in all these industrial things. And then what does that lead to? It's led to a housing crisis. So Reno's another, in itself, problem secondary to all the industry they've brought. We've got the largest industrial complex in the United States. So we got to slow down in Reno. We have to be thoughtful, work through that process. So each area has its own specific primary issue. And as governor, I'll attack each one of them with the best of help in all areas. Thanks.
Thank you. First and foremost, in Las Vegas, the nail on the head, the crime is out of control. Twice the national average in property crime, twice the national average in violent crime, 110% increase in homicides, 30% increase in carjackings. It's out of control. Shutting down Sanctuary City stuff on day one. No more busing thousands of people in here. That's done. All right. Enforcing the law. Listen, take the handcuffs off our officers. All right. Get these political judges and DAs out. You want to know what's broken in Nevada? Corrupt career politicians. You want to fix this state? Stop electing these corrupt career politicians. All right. That's how we stop this. All right. The bottom line is, in Reno, same thing. We have overdevelopment, but we also have something in this state. We have a bozo governor with these mandates that's strangling our businesses. Get the mandates off and let this economy open back up 100%. Number one. Regards to water, we have enough water in this state, but what we need to do is stop letting California take 7 times their allotment. All right? We need someone with the moral courage to step up and say, no, not happening. All right? And the rural's the same thing. You want to know what the rurals want? They want to be left the hell alone. That's simple. That's a message from the rural counties. They have water problems, they have power problems, but as Michelle said, land is a big issue. 88% still owned by the federal government. Okay, payment in lieu of taxes. It needs to come back and be trusted to the county. Right at the county level. I think the county and state can do a heck of a lot better job than somebody 3,000 miles away. And that's what we need to do. I would also say, most importantly is our schools, our broken government schools. They're not public schools anymore. They're government schools. And those controls belong to the parents. Parents make the medical decisions. Parents make the decisions on curriculum. That's how we fix this state. Get rid of the career politicians and hold people accountable.
All right, we're going to go back to 90 seconds here. Mr. Nora, we'll start with you. It is possible that the U.S. Supreme Court will overturn Roe v. Wade in the upcoming months. In Nevada, abortion is legal until around 24 weeks of pregnancy, and that law cannot be changed without a popular vote. Are you pro-life? And if so, what steps should Nevada take to preserve the lives of preborn babies, understanding that stricter bans on abortion can't happen without a popular vote?
Yes. So first, I'm Catholic and I'm pro-life. People have asked me this question many times on the road. You know, why are you pro-life? Is just a position. And I apologize for dwelling a little bit on my personal story here, but it's important that you understand that. When you have been at 15 taking lives and watching lives being taken next to you, you understand what life is all about, and you really respect life, all life, believe that or not. That's how it goes. So to answer your question, Victor, it is in the Constitution. I've researched it. When, of course, the Supreme Court was having the conversation, you know, we had to do our work because, you know, we're serious about all of the issues. It's going to be very complex a process to change things in our state because in the 90s, the pro-choice people actually really buttoned it down. I can tell you that you will have a very friendly governor with regards to pro-life issues when I'm on the state, and anything I can do to help will be done within understanding and respecting, of course, the laws of our land. I think that if what happens is going to happen, which everybody thinks is going to, I think it should be exactly how it should have happened. It should have never been the law of the land. It should have been to the states from day one, and then let the states decide. And that's what's going to be like now. So, you know, 40, 50 years later, they figured it out. So,
thank you.
So let's just be clear that a child is not a choice, period. Thank you. This is a very personal question to me. I understand, and most of you know my first grandson, Jake, who's 11 years old. My daughter, Savannah, who was born and raised here, when she was 16, she got pregnant. She went to Centennial Hills High School. And the counselor tried to convince her to have an abortion without me knowing. And that was legal. It still is. We need to change it. So thank God my daughter said, I'm just going to face the music with my mom. We're Catholic. We're pro-life. That kid came to me. We went through a scenario. 16 years old, she wrote down what she was going to do. She's 28. The boy that got her pregnant, they started dating when they were 14. He's a Clark County firefighter. They're married. They have 5 kids, and they're 28 years old. Everything that kid wrote down, she did. So if it wasn't that we instilled being pro-life in that child, I would not have my grandson, Jake. It's very personal to me. A child is not a choice. And when you talk to people that are thinking about an abortion, you ask them, where's the choice of that child in your stomach to choose whether to live or die? Thank you.
Well spoken, Michelle. I've been rated an A by Nevada pro-life organizations my whole legislative career. I didn't find out till I was 15 years old that it took me 6 months to come out of my mother's womb until all of a sudden I looked at my mother and realized when they got married and when I was born, you know. I could have been one of those little children that didn't make it on this earth. We've had one of my grandchildren had the same issue, Michelle, that you're talking about there, and that is a choice that a parent and a family has to make to take care and nurture that child in those situations. I believe every child is a blessing from Heavenly Father. I appreciate life. I have a bumper sticker on my truck that says, I break for butterflies. I don't like to shoot anything. I don't like to kill anything. If there's a cockroach running right there, and my wife's way over there, I tell them, you better run because that woman's going to step on you. But me, I'm not going to do it because I think life has value. Even little creatures' life have value. I just want you to know that I don't believe killing children makes a society a safer society or a more humane society. Thank you very much.
I am a faith-based constitutional conservative. My life is led by my Savior, number one. I've never done a complex operation by myself. I worked in a NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, for 6 months. I saw these tiny little bodies, these tiny little people who survived. I will tell you, this law was never constitutional. So number one, God is not allowing us to make choices. It's up to God to make the choices. And the Constitution protects these children. And abortion is one of the most horrible things I've ever seen throughout my career. I've taken care of murderers, gangbangers, some of the most evil people. I take care of them. It's not up to me to make a decision whether I do or I don't. I save their lives. It is not up to us to decide once someone is pregnant to kill or let it live. And I strongly feel that. I've been through it for decades. There's no way as governor I'm going to allow anything such as any type of abortion unless it is in relationship to the mother's life, period.
Thank you, guys. Well, as my colleagues have all said, I am 100% pro-life, faith-based conservative, raised by, like I said, son of a Marine. Went to Our Lady of Snow's Catholic, grade school, Bishop Manogue Catholic High School, and for me, that's a situation where there shouldn't be a question on that. However, it's very easy to say, pro-life. I would veto any, pro-abortion legislation. I would do everything we could do. But I don't think that goes far enough because there's 9,000 abortions in Nevada every year, right? And while we'd love to see 9,000 kids put up for adoption, that's just not the case. So we have to do better as parents. We have to do better as leaders. We have to do better with our churches, community leaders, priests, everyone, to come together to teach the responsibility and the value of human life. That's what we need to do, right? It has to be much more of an integrated message. And together, we have to chase this thing down because this world has become lost. If you've seen, this is as much a spiritual war as it is anything else. And a lot of you recognize where I'm going with this. So we have to start over in this state and in this country. Roe versus Wade was one of the worst decisions in this country because it created a constitutional right where there was none. All right, so that's as a lawyer, that's one thing I'll say. But I'll just say this, as a father and as someone that, you know, looks out at the youth and is speaking to the youth and understands the problem these kids are facing today, we need to do more. We need to do more for women's health care. We need to do more for single women and single fathers, and that's how we address this responsibly.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm pro-life and I'm proud of it. You know, my voting record in Congress, as long as I've been an elected official, was 100% pro-life. I've been endorsed by the Nevada Right to Life. I've been endorsed by the National Right to Life. And the only exceptions I make are for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. Those are the only exceptions that I agree to. Having said that, here's the only question I have. I wish the sheriff was here because I wish he'd answer this question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Heller. Councilwoman Fiore, we're going to come back to you to start with this question. The water level in Lake Mead continues to drop. A previously discussed option was to pipe water from rural Nevada to fill Lake Mead. There are new restrictions coming on non-functional grass here in southern Nevada. How would you ensure that our community has enough water in the decades to come?
Thank you, Mr. Jakes. So understand, being a council person right now, we have to go through before we allow development to make sure we have enough water. We have the Colorado River that's being piped in. We look at these water levels every single month, and when I say that, it is because there are a lot of development that is happening in the state of Nevada, especially in Clark. So with our water levels, to make sure that we don't ever run out of water, is number one, for the last 15 years, if you haven't noticed, we have stopped the grass. We've done desert landscaping. All of these things that have been put in place little by little is to make sure we preserve our water. It is a big issue. Sometimes I think it's misrepresented. We're not going to take water from our rurals. Our rurals feed our cattle, our ranchers, our farms. We are going to take water from our Colorado River, make sure that Lake Mead stays at a level that can handle the state of Nevada. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I sat on the Southern Nevada Water Board for quite a while, Southern Nevada Water Authority, and I can tell you right now, conservation is working. Of all the states on the river, we are doing the most in Nevada than any other state is doing. We are not even using the allotment that we have right now. We are actually taking water that we should get and we're banking it in Arizona, which means they're injecting it into Arizona. The farmers are using that. We're banking that. We have 8 years of water right now. Now, that's only 8 years, but we are doing great things here in Southern Nevada with our water situation. The next thing that's happening right now that will be coming your way is we're going to start seeing people will no longer be able to enjoy their backyards as much. You won't have the grass on your backyards anymore. It's out of your front yards right now. We're in a desert environment. You'll have drip systems, you'll have rocks, you'll have cactus, you'll have all that kind of stuff. But that's the next place where conservation will be starting in Southern Nevada. We are doing very good with our water right now, but it is the biggest, most precious thing that we have, and we need to continue to conserve and continue to pray that we get more snow on the west side of the Rocky Mountains. Thank you very much.
So I agree with a lot of what John said. The 1964 Supreme Court ruling, we're not going to get any more water than we're allowed. It's not going to happen. The Colorado's divided up between Arizona and Colorado, Utah, and us, and we didn't get a really good fair shake in that. But it will not reverse. Some of the things we need to do. A lot of water is controlled on the reservations. So they're the first stakeholder. We need to control that better than we have. Everyone's then going to have to make a decision. Do we want to support the people who live in Nevada now, or do we want to continue to do rapid development? If we do rapid development, we're going to have a water problem. And if we look at what we have now, we have to start thinking about conservation down the line. We can't predict the snowfall, and we can't predict development if we continue to let it go like it has up in Reno and down here. So we as a government need to sit down with all of the stakeholders, developers, landholders, citizens. What is the plan? There has never been a thoughtful process plan for water in this state, ever. And that's what we need to do first when we look at the new governor, and that's the first thing I would do as far as water goes. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Listen, for the water situation, it's very simple. You know, I don't know if John's been out to Lake Mead lately, but it's not looking so good out there. And I'll just say this. At the end of the day, we do have enough water in this state. We have plenty of water in this state. Talking with our mining partners, talking with our ag partners, people don't realize 70% of our water is spent in agriculture. Only 18% is personal use. The mines get about 7%. No one's dug into this deeper. I was up hiking on Echo Lake because I got a call from Demar Dahl up in Elko County. He said, "Can I sue California?" I said, "For what, Demar?" He said, "For the smoke." So I started looking into it, and that led me down the rabbit hole of the water problem. There's weather modification taking place. These droughts, things that are happening across this country are not by mistake and across this state. So we absolutely, Fred hit the nail on the head. On day one, there's a task force assigned. We sit down and we get with the stakeholders and we figure out there is plenty of water in this state. And our knucklehead of a governor, he wants to save less than 1% by canceling all lawns in Las Vegas. That's what he's going to save. Less than 1% over the next 6 years if he cancels lawns. So that's not it. That's not it. When we can save 30% by using more efficient irrigation techniques like they do in Israel, when they do in Israel, you see what they're doing in other places using innovation. And why don't we bring in water? What about some desalination plants on the coast? Why aren't we using small nuclear reactors and powering these things and pumping this water in? We got to get innovative, and that's how we fix the water problem.
In my time in Congress, in fact, if you take a look out that window and look how many homes and buildings there are in this valley, you know, it would have been anticipated 30 years ago that there's no way that this valley could be this developed. And it's because of work of important people that were back in Washington, D.C., reallocating. I disagree. I think you can, with a strong governor, with someone who has a strong voice, because I've already done it before, working in Washington, D.C., to get the reallocation of the Colorado River. No, we don't have the best percentage necessary, and obviously we need more snow, and conservation has worked well for this valley, but I do believe that you can take a look at this compact and make the necessary changes to help develop and be a win-win for everybody, because I've been at that table. I will never support a pipeline, a water line from rural Nevada to bring that water to urban areas. I will never support that, and have fought it in the past with the Baker family out in Baker, Nevada, making sure that rural Nevada has the resources that they need to thrive. And to think that we would sit up here at this table and talk about piping water, bringing water, relocating water out of other portions of the state for the urban areas is absolutely wrong. So the only reason that pipeline stopped that was coming from Ely, White Pine County, Lincoln County, was because that aquifer was in Utah. And Utah sued to stop it, because they didn't want you to suck all the water out of Utah also to bring it into an urban area. So there are things we can do, and renegotiating the compact is one of them.
Again, when you're at the end of the line, it's always additive. So I'll take a lot of the good ideas that came out here. First of all, when you're going to have a governor who's negotiating with other governors, you want the guy, pun intended, who has negotiated their whole life deals, hundreds and hundreds of deals. That's the first important thing. You want me on your side while we're negotiating. The second thing, and I've talked about this before, is desalinization is actually a very, very active thing that's done overseas in places like Dubai. And Israel has turned the desert into an amazing green area, okay? That's about technology transfer, folks. That's what I do. That's what I've done my whole career. I've taken technology from Weizmann Institute and put them into companies in the United States, and they've become incredibly innovative medical companies. So I know how to do that, and as a state, that's exactly what we're going to do. So with everything that my colleagues said, plus some technology transfer, we're going to do very, very well with this. We're going to take it on with the American way, which is nothing scares us. We just take it on and we make it happen.
Mayor Lee, you get this question next. The last time Nevada had a Republican governor, elected a Republican governor, he successfully pushed through the largest tax increase in state history. Do you pledge to oppose all tax increases, and is it time for a tax cut here in Nevada?
Very, very good question coming from the mayor of North Las Vegas. You cannot fix a city that's going under and tax it out of its problems. We fixed North Las Vegas by using conservative values. We didn't raise a single fee. We didn't raise a single tax on anybody. We just started working with the dollars we were getting. We invested those dollars in infrastructure. We realized we had to supply a diversification in our community to make sure that our residents would have a strong government in the future. There is no way possible at this point in time that anybody should be talking about taxing anybody in Nevada any more than they already are taxed now. We actually reduced taxes in North Las Vegas. I think there's many taxes we ought to look at here that could be reduced, and we can run the state. We can run the state more efficiently with better leadership and a desire to see Nevada residents succeed. So I am not raising taxes. I see no value in it.
So I don't see businesses or industries having to raise more money most of the time. We have corruption, a lot of corruption. We have incompetence. Okay? If we look at the $5 billion spent in education, the metrics, we're 50th out of 50 in a country that's 28th in the world. It has nothing to do with money. We reallocate money based on metrics. So what you need is a governor to look at all aspects of this. In fact, I truly honestly believe that you can get a tax rebate to the citizens once you get rid of the incompetence, the corruption, and let me tell you, you find corruption, okay, they're prosecuted just like the gang members are. Okay? White collar crime, corruption of money in this state costs all of us. That's why our taxes are high. So we need tough legislation, tough prosecution, and we need to stop allowing people to be incompetent in what they do. They need to be accountable for their departments, their industries, education, healthcare, every single department in this government. Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, right away, there will be no new taxes. That's not happening. And we need to actually sunset taxes we've talked about doing for years. That needs to happen. Taxes to our mining communities that got hit. They're the highest taxed industry in the state, and we're just shoving stuff down their throats. So we're going to repeal some of those things for sure, especially stuff they shoved through a closed legislative session. There's just so much nonsense going on. But as my colleagues have said up here, we're going to audit this sucker. All right, we need to audit these county commissions. We need to audit the school boards. And let me tell you this, Las Vegas, Clark County has a $7 billion budget. Washoe County has a $1 billion budget. We could save 30% off the top by privatizing services. Does anybody want to take a stab at what 30% of $1 billion is? Or what 30% of $7.4 billion is? We need to audit these guys. They need to be held responsible, held accountable for what they're doing. No new taxes, repeal any of the nonsense, and finally sunset the stuff that's been out there that we've been saying is going to sunset that hasn't. And finally, the corruption. Dr. Simon hit the nail on the head again. The corruption and waste is disgusting. All right, I know what can happen here when we stop wasting money. All right, people say, oh, Joey Gilbert, he doesn't know government. You know what? Government is nothing but big business with the people's money. And no one will be better with the people's money than someone who's been a businessman and entrepreneur and has done it successfully. Because I will be held accountable to you, the people. That's it. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and the people. That's who I answer to.
Well, we can talk about this commerce tax a little bit, but let me just say this. In my career, I've never raised a tax. In my career, I have never raised a tax. And I'll tell you right now, 80% of the small businesses in Nevada are struggling today. Our small businesses are overtaxed, they're overregulated, and they can't find employees. And I will tell you, the first place I will start is with this commerce tax. I think it's an embarrassment for the Republican Party. For the first time since 1985, we got the majority of both houses and the governorship, and the first thing we do is raise the largest tax in Nevada history. Think about that. And this was a tax that was rejected on the ballot the cycle before. Think about that. So this is what's going to change. This commerce tax won't be appropriated. On my first day, I will rid ourselves of this onerous tax. We'll get it back on the ballot, and we'll get the people an opportunity to be heard once again and eliminate this very, very onerous tax. So anyway, I think personally it is the biggest embarrassment of the Republican Party that we actually increased this tax when we finally got the majority of both houses and the governorship then. This will not happen again. We will stop that from happening.
Right, so I'm a University of Chicago MBA, so when you say tax, my head blows up. You know, we don't do taxes where I come from. We just do not do that. It doesn't make any sense. I think from my perspective, and of course all my colleagues have already spoken about this, I want to get in. I'm going to look at all these taxes that we have, and we're just going to change the hell out of all of them because they're not efficient. They don't work. You know, taxing is nothing but your money going out to pay for the services that you receive. It's not anybody else's money. It's your money. So when I'm responsible for your money, and I'm going to look at all these taxes, and intellectually this stuff really turns me on, right? So I'm going to look at all the taxes and where they come from, where they go, and all these kind of things, and I can actually do that because I've done it a lot my whole life. So then we're going to come up with a tax system which you will think is efficient. And everybody will think is efficient. And that's what really matters at the end of the day. Because you understand, we all hate taxes. Nobody likes taxes. But we also understand that we, with our money, want to pay for the services that we receive. Well, we're going to make it efficient. We're going to make it work for everybody. And we're going to make it that it makes a lot of sense and very transparent. You try to look at the taxes today. I do a lot of my work on this issue. You don't know where the stuff goes, where it comes from. No transparency. Day one. You will know as much as I know, which will be everything. And if people are not transparent with me, they'll be fired.
Thank you so much. So, you know, I've bit my tongue a lot up here, but I think it's just time I stop. You know why? Because in 2015, when I was the first female elected Republican majority leader, right, in this state, voted in by my peers, Brian Sandoval and I had a conversation about this business commerce tax, which, sorry, but most of y'all don't know what the heck you're talking about. I fought it, and guess what happened? I got removed from my female Republican majority leadership. I was the chairwoman of taxation, got thrown off of taxation. They ripped 3 of my Republicans and made this business commerce tax go through, only on the backs of business, which turn our economy and make it work. So you have to understand that history and the fight and the questions that they're asking, you know, it might sound nice. They might do some good words. But we have a gentleman sitting up here that called me a nut job because I was fighting the Sandoval tax, okay? I have to tell you something. I'm going to fight for you. I'm not going to say I'm going to fight for you. I did. I will, and I always will. So understand, this is very personal to me. I fight. Business commerce tax was horrific. I voted against it. Many up here have actions that speak differently. Thank you, Victor.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Simon, will you name a Republican elected official that you admire both in Nevada and nationally? I'm looking for a current elected official, and then tell us something that you admire about them.
Yeah, Joey said good luck here. Thanks for the joke, Joey. I needed a little help there. I think you got to look at Ron DeSantis and you got to look at Youngkin. I have some very close friends who are involved in Youngkin's campaign, and if you look what Youngkin is doing right now with executive orders, he's somewhat following what DeSantis was leading forward. It's anybody who believes in personal rights, freedom, and liberty first, who's a conservative, and who believes in the Constitution. I think we're pretty short in this state in regards to all the leadership that we're seeing now. So when I look at it, I look at those people out there. I think we don't have a lot of leaders nationally. Where has everybody been during this COVID crisis? Republican Congress people, senators, and other than a small number of governors, where's the courage? It's one of the things we need in a Republican who's going to be governor. You've got to have courage, and you got to take the heat, and you have to stand up for what you believe, which is we need a faith-based constitutional conservative who doesn't bend or bow, period.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to apologize to Michelle Fiore. I was that individual. I made a mistake years ago, and one of the things my father told me is when you make a mistake, you own it. I was a Brian Sandoval fan. Brian Sandoval was a fraternity brother of mine, someone I helped with his run to become Attorney General, someone that I believed in, and I was shocked when I finally was pulled aside by some of the business guys up in Reno, and they said, Joey, it's gross receipts. And then Michelle didn't seem so crazy anymore. So I apologize to you, Michelle. That was, it was unfortunate. But at the same time, listen, these people that we've entrusted across this nation have done some of the most unbelievable, despicable things I've ever seen, and which is why I'm in the race. And all I'll say real quick is Kristi Noem and Ron DeSantis, if you want to see Nevada become the freest state, west of Florida, a big, bright, beautiful red state, I will be modeling, I will be following Ron DeSantis. Everybody makes mistakes. And again, let me just say this one more time. Just like I've given to some Democrats, just like I've done as an attorney, contributing across the aisle, never in a million years did I think they'd end up these leftist, socialist nut jobs, all right? Michelle was right. I was wrong. She stood up. A lot of us got on board once we learned what was really going on. I was not in politics at the time. So again, like I said, I own that, but we will never go back down that direction again. And when I'm in office, we will be following the Ron DeSantis, Kristi Noem plan.
I think we're pretty much all in the same boat. I'm asked constantly who I think the best governors across this nation is, and I'll always say that it's DeSantis in Florida. I'll always add Abbott in Texas and Kristi Noem in South Dakota. These are great leaders. These are great leaders. These are people that are saving this country. They are saving this country. We're not saving the country out of Washington, D.C. Great governors are saving this state. And I will be just like DeSantis, just like Abbott, just like Kristi Noem, friends of mine, as we move this state forward. And so as we talk about this, as we move this state forward, there are some local leaders. It really isn't a statewide leader right now that you can point to, but maybe I can help Dr. Simon and say, hey, why don't we take a look at Jim Wheeler and James Settlemeyer, two good legislators that are very, very conservative, that are fighting for Nevada values. Thank you.
So, and a theme that might be getting old for you, when you're towards the end, you got a chance to not say it much more, but you can also say some stuff because you have a chance to think about it. So, great question. I spend a lot of time looking at the RGA. I think that the governors are our first line of defense, folks. They have done a great job in a lot of the red states. You know how we were blocked here, we couldn't do anything? Well, guess what? In some other states, they were having a very normal life. Their kids went to school, their athletes went to college, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what the governor does. Now, when I'm thinking about those, of course, Ron DeSantis is all of it. He's our rock star, and he gets the most press. But there are other people in there. So Kemp from Georgia has done a pretty good job. I'm going to shout out one person. And this is always dangerous in politics because, Guy Nora said that he likes this. I tell you what, there's a state that's a lot like ours that's very close to us. It's called Arizona, okay? Governor Ducey, day one that he got in, actually put in the civics for all schools. I like that. I like that our kids, day one, are going to get civics in all of their schools. That's very, very important. Recently, he's put money behind the kids. Kids get the money. You get $6,000 to go. That's another issue that he's actually been on top of. They didn't close down like some of the other places. So we are more like them because Arizona's purplish, pinkish, And we, unfortunately, people say we're purple. I think we're blue right now, folks, and we got to change that. So anyway, that's my answer to the question. We have great governors, and I wouldn't single one out.
Thank you for the question. So listen, if you're running for governor, you better have relationships with your cities and your counties, and you better know some elected officials. I'm going to tell you one strong woman that I work side to side with every single solitary day. That's Mayor Carolyn Goodman. Okay? Her and I basically gave the double middle finger to Governor Sisolak. We fought, we stayed open. That woman is tough. People don't realize she rides horses and carries a gun. That's my local hero there. The person that I want to take most after as your next governor of this state is the rightful president of the United States, which is Donald J. Trump. Make no mistake, there was voter fraud and he won Nevada, and I was on the ground, and I'm going to tell you that right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I also voted 2 times for Mr. Trump, President Trump. I think he did a fantastic job. I love the things that happened in the economy. That's what helped me pull North Las Vegas out of the hole. But you mentioned Kristi Noem, Dean, and I agree with you. She cares about her state first. She's not trying to go on and be the ambassador anywhere in the world. She cares about her state. That's the way I feel about our state. I care more about our state than anything else in the world. I want you to know there's an absence of leadership in this country. And you say, well, why is there? Because people are scared. This cancel culture scares the heck out of Republicans. And we run and we hide and we try to get along. And it just emboldens the Democrats even more. When you don't fight these people, if you don't go stick your finger in their chest, if you don't tell them I don't give a crap what you do, I'm going to get this done, they think they're going to win, and they just push and push and push. I've been a very staunch leader throughout my whole legislative career and my whole state career. I'm not scared of anybody. I don't start fights with people, but you know where I stand, and I'll let you know what I'm going to do to you if you continue to keep doing those things, or what you can expect me to vote for, or what you can expect me to veto, and there'll be no discussion after that. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. All right, Mr. Gilbert, you get the next question. Governor Sisolak and Democrats frequently demonize fossil fuels and gas-powered cars. Under Sisolak, Nevada has a requirement that 50% of our energy come from renewable sources by 2030. That was also approved by voters. Sisolak also signed a bill giving us a goal of net zero emissions by 2050. Do you support these goals? Why or why not?
Well, thank you for the question. I'll just say this. I support some of them. I do think that we need to deploy more renewable technologies for sure, but right now, Nevada, 70% of our natural gas comes from outside the state. We buy it. Only 30% of Nevada's power comes from renewable energy, and we don't have that renewable technology. We don't have that capacity right now. So before we start jamming more stuff down Nevadans' throats and taking things away from them, we need to do a better job at our power issues. And I think one of the things I've really studied are these small, they're called modular nuclear generators. They can use expensed fuel. They're clean. They're being used in many other countries. Utah's about to bring some online. They're fantastic, and I think we need to explore different ideas. There's also other technology in the state that we can, deploy to. There's things we can do with, the solar farms, but they all have limits. What I've seen in talking around different counties is that all of these renewable technologies, there's nothing that we can depend on yet. There's nothing we can drop the fossil fuels and go to. I think Governor Sisolak's ambitious. I would love to see, our resources, to me, are our most precious thing in this state. No one wants to see it conserved more. But at the same time, we do have the ability to take natural resources from our state, and we have the ability to use technology to provide more energy and, again, more power that we're just not even looking at. So I would look into those things. Again, we'd have to launch a task force. We'd have to get down, look in the nuts and bolts of it. But based on the work I've done, based on the information I've received from the Department of Energy, we can do a lot more than we're doing, and that would be the first thing I do.
In my career, I have supported all of the above energy policy. All of the above. I support nuclear, oil, gas, renewables, all of that. All of that is fine, and I want businesses to be pushing this. We have some real opportunities here in Nevada for renewable resources, and we see it from time to time. Let's just put it this way. Between Tonopah and Phoenix is the most intense sunlight in the country. And that's why you're seeing all these solar pods coming up. And we are taking this energy, and unfortunately, we're shipping it to California, and we're providing energy for millions of homes. That's what we're doing here in Nevada. So because they're willing to pay for it. I know it's not always lucrative. I know it's not always useful and affordable. But the key is that there are some real opportunities. Wind's not big in Nevada because we're the most mountainous state in the lower 48, but solar is. We have some real opportunities to make some real differences. I'm okay. I'm okay with the alternative energy development as long as businesses are pushing it and it's affordable to you. But otherwise, it's all of the above. And all the above is going to push this country forward for the next 50 to 60 years. You and I know that. So let's keep this country moving. Let's make sure that we create jobs. Let's make sure that the economy stays strong. We can't strangle it. And that's what's going on. That's what government is doing, is strangling our ability to grow in the future.
I'm going to give a slightly qualitative answer to this. So they pick a year, right? By year X, we're going to be X down. What the hell do they know? Who are they? Right? It's like, I'm like, have you done your research? Do you know how different we are from your buddies in California? They might have some data that makes sense. We're not them. So when they do this, Victor, I really get annoyed. Of course, we all have the best of intentions. We want to save the planet and we care. But my first goal, the first people that I report to are going to be the people of the state. And if some of these dumb rules are going to hurt the people of the state, I'm not going to go along with them. I care about people here and now, not 50 years from now, maybe, if something is going to happen. So for the way I'm concerned is Carson City keeps pushing stuff down our throats that they think is cool because it comes from California, and they're just wrong. And you have to change it, and we have to stop it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I drive a big black Ford 250 diesel 6-man cab, 8-foot bed truck, and it ain't going nowhere, right? That's my truck. It's in the shop getting an oil change because I got to schlep it up to Virginia City this weekend. Governor Sisolak's, whatever that guy signs, please be suspicious and find out who paid him to sign it because he's as corrupt as they get, okay? There are some good energy innovative ideas. The first, Nevada needs to be energy independent. We have the resources everywhere. We have the minerals, we have the dirt. There's so much that we have here that we're buying from China, it's pathetic. We have the minerals that go into your iPhone right here in the state of Nevada. We need to take it back, take it all back. Nevada will become energy independent under me as your next governor. And keep driving your big damn trucks, okay? Bye.
Thank you. I think innovation is exciting, and I think this is a 21st century jobs that we're talking about. Now, if you want to set a date 2050, it's probably going to happen anyway. It's just a date arbitrarily, like I heard here, that was just thrown out there. But I do believe that if you are going to set goals for your state, you should set seemingly impossible goals and try to hit them. Stretch your vision, see what you can do. But there's nothing that's going to happen that they're going to shut the power down at 2050 if we're not all on solar and stuff like that. It's just a number. It's just a dream. It's just a vision for us. But one thing we need to always remember, we need to have redundant power. It's not always sunshine in Southern Nevada. There are days that we don't have that much sunshine that we would not be able to light up this whole city just with that kind of power and gas power. So I'm just here to tell you, it's a very worthwhile thing to work on. I think it's great. I love our environment. I love to go hiking. I love to go biking. A clean energy is a good energy as far as I'm concerned, but not where it comes out and you have to pay a 50% tax or charge because you didn't hit it. Thank you.
I got to put my glasses on for this one. So my campaign came out with 20 issues that we stand for in June. And so I do agree with Joey. Modular nuclear makes us energy independent, leads us to the richest state in the United States. Solar, where are you going to put all the panels? They've got cadmium and lead in it. So we don't have a problem. Yeah, we do have a problem. We're going to have dumping grounds of solar panels. Second thing is, life is all about CO2. Cancel culture. When are we Republicans going to stand up against Democrats who shove literature down our throats when the other literature from a counter source proves that this may not be global warming? So we have to stand up for ourselves. France lives on nuclear power. There is nuclear waste all over the United States that doesn't cause any problems. We need, as Nevada, to think about what we're going to do to make us the richest state in the United States. If you use nuclear power, we can do more mining. We use nuclear power, we can deal with water. Nuclear power is the source that we need, and that makes me a liberal because it's green.
All right, we've got one last question. We'll start with Senator Heller, then we're going to do closing statements. Excuse me, Mr. Nora, you'll get the closing statement first. Senator Heller, from college campuses to corporate boardrooms to social media, cancel culture is alive and well, even for someone as well known as Joe Rogan. As governor, how will you fight cancel culture both legislatively and culturally?
Well, I don't know if you push it legislatively, but you do get up on your soapbox and talk about it. This whole thing with Spotify and Rogan, you got digits on your hands, and the reason you have those is so you can turn it off if you don't want to listen to it. It's that simple. Let's get the message out. Stop canceling. I think the First Amendment is important when you have more of it, not less of it. And as long as you have a governor talking that way, stop canceling, stop this wokeness. Let's just make decisions for yourself, make the best decisions for yourself, and if you don't like it, just turn it off. Just turn it off, watch, listen to what you enjoy watching, and don't worry about somebody else. And that's what this wokeness is all about. It's individuals that aren't doing anything for themselves. What they're trying to do is cancel somebody else. And they believe they're achieving something by saying that they canceled somebody. This is completely upside down. You need a governor that understands that and talks about it exactly the way I have. Thank you.
So, you know, this whole woke cancel thing just drives me crazy. I'm sure it does with you too. So the way you deal with it when you're the governor is that why not just use common sense? 70% of the population understands common sense. So whenever they come up with things that don't sound like they make any sense, which most of the woke stuff is, all of it, you say, the common sense approach to this is fill in the blank. That's the first thing. For us, the second thing, which is really important for everybody in this room, we believe in the free markets. That's who we are. That's what we do. Vote with your feet, folks. If Coca-Cola doesn't want to go to the MLB, don't buy Coca-Cola. Vote with your feet. They will hear you. Get off of Spotify. You know, whatever it takes, we can do that. This is the beauty of our amazing free market, right? There's this new thing called Rumble. Let's all go to Rumble and get the heck out of YouTube. All right, so it's a free market. That's who we are. That's how we solve problems. We don't try to cancel people and stop them. Leave us alone. We'll do our thing. It's the free market. That's America. That's Nevada.
Listen, I love Joe Rogan. However, apologizing is nothing more than becoming a pusillanimous. You know what that is, right? So, he should have never apologized. Be unapologetic. Be an unapologetic Republican. And let me tell you, this woke indoctrination, this racism, all this stuff, they want to call you that. The majority of us have interracial families, whether it's Asian, African American. I mean, we are a melting pot. Racism is literally a constructed division amongst Americans, and we need to stop it. So as the governor, I'm going to tell you to fight against them, because let me tell you something, they're just loud. They're weak, but they're loud. You know that truck I was telling you about? When they canceled the Dukes of Hazzard, the next day I brought my truck in to a specialist and I got that horn. That's my truck horn, right? You know what my license plate is? Trump 47, because he's going to be our 47th president, okay? So what I'm telling you, everyone talks about we got to start fighting, we got to stand up. Honey, I've been standing up for 10 years for you, and I'm going to continue. I just need you to stand with me, too. Because if we're going to fight these woke people, We need to fight together. Thank you.
I mentioned cancel culture just a little bit, a little while ago, about 24 questions back, you know. And I can tell you that cancel culture only works when you allow it to be discussed around you. If your values are so set, if you have such a personal constitution that people know, I don't have to ask him how he's going to vote in the Senate, this is how he's going to vote. If you're known for your values, then you don't see a lot of this stuff. But if you're wishy-washy or you're scared to hurt somebody's feelings because they think differently than you, and you listen to it, you need to stop right now and say, I'm not going there with you. I could give a crap what you're talking about. This is where I'm heading. Come with me. If you stand for your values, they will look at you and they will realize I'm wasting my time with this man or woman. I'm going to move on and find another weaker person that I can kind of control. Thank you very much.
There's no question cancel culture is real. March 26th, I'm bringing Peter McCullough to the Ahern. You can. I've been out with these docs who've been canceled. So, Guy is correct. Economics. Second thing is you need a governor who can be elected, a Republican nominee who can bring independence. You need a constitutional, conservative, faith-based, and who has a vision, and independents will follow me. And then we stand up. Again, Democrats are very organized. Republicans are somewhat organized, but we're awfully quiet. Why do we put up with this transgender stuff? It's less than 1% of the children at best, and they're dominating now what goes on with sports. We need courage. We need leadership with courage, and we need to say no. We're not that society. We're allowing this to happen. It's a minority that is dominating our society. So we put everybody together. Even the right-sided Democrats are against most of these things. So we need to coalesce together, fight against this. This is not American society. This isn't the way this country was run. It has happened all in the last 10 years, and we're going to go after it.
Well, you know, ladies and gentlemen, it's very simple, as Dr. Simon just said and some of my colleagues. We're just not going to play the game. We're not going to play the game. Enough is enough. With the CRT, the transgender nonsense, even the cancel culture on doctors, it's all gone. Day one, we're ending all the nonsense. And many of you might not know this, but I'm Director of Strategy and a board member of American Frontline Doctors. We've been fighting on the front lines for over a year. And when I started seeing Ivy League trained, some of the smartest doctors I've ever met, I get to sit on Zoom calls with Dr. McCullough and Dr. Urso and Dr. Malone and Dr. Mike Eden. And when I saw these men absolutely canceled, removed, and we are still having it happen today in Nevada hospitals, people are being murdered by giving the wrong medications, and no one's doing a thing. This cancel culture has gone way too far. We've never seen this in American history before. And if you want someone with a spine that's going to stand up and fight this nonsense, you're looking at them. All right? I don't need any more friends. I'm not trying to make any business deals. I'm not looking to get elevated to Congress or Senate. I love Nevada. I love this state. I love this country. I'll be up in northern Nevada in my boat in Lake Tahoe, okay? And I'll be hunting in our mountains. But I'll say this, enough is enough. It's time to stand together, push back against this nonsense, and fight. And again, like I said earlier, apathy. It's time to come together. We are one people. It's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is an 80% deal that everyone wants to be involved in. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, law and order. That's what needs to come back into America and American values. And that's what I'll bring as your governor.
All right, we're going to move to closing statements, and we'll start with Mr. Nora.
All right. Your governorship, you are interviewing for a chief executive officer. That's what you're doing. It's somebody who's going to run your state. You are going to look for the person that's going to be the best qualified to run your state. Somebody who knows budgets, understands budgets, somebody who can negotiate, somebody who can actually work with children, which is what the legislatures tend to be a lot of times. Try working with venture capitalists who think they're the smartest guys in the room. So that's going to be a piece of cake. But that's really what you're looking for. And it's really important. That's the one position in politics that where you actually run something. It's not, so you're going to look for the person who's going to do that for you. What I always say is, when I started my campaign, I said, I'm going to earn every vote. And I think starting right here with you, I hope to earn every single vote. And at the end of the day, I hope that I'll be the person that went, only in America could that happen, folks. You can go from battlefield to battleborn. That would be me.
Thank you so much. Okay, so this is my closing statement for you guys to become your next governor. So I have 10 years of fighting. When I say fighting, that means not throwing Democrats fundraisers. That means not being a Democrat. That means not running for office in California, losing and coming here. That means not being a never Trumper. That means not thinking you can buy this seat when you don't live here. I'm a Nevada first candidate, America first. I've fought for you, fought with the ranchers, held hands with our Pahrump folks fighting against the federal government for their water rights. I will continue to fight for you. There's a difference. People talk and people do. Actions speak a whole heck a lot louder than pretty words. Thank you.
All these people on this stage have one thing in common. They know they're better, smarter, and more ready to prepare to lead this state than Sisolak is. I would agree to that right there. So we're in a beauty contest today. I happen to be the most handsome person on the stage, but there's good-looking people here. But my daughter, because of my beautiful wife, she was Miss Nevada. She went to the Miss USA contest. She did very well for herself. There's 4 things that take place in that contest. First is there's an interview process. Today, somebody's not here that should be on the interview panel with us discussing what they think. And I think that police officer is missing the opportunity to explain to us what he really could do for Nevada. There's a talent section to this. I don't think that person can come up with a new idea or explain anything that's happened in this state in the last 10 years. I think he has no value at all to show us what talent he might be able to bring to this organization, the Republican Party. I don't think he could win the bathing suit competition. I think Joey Gilbert could win that contest on this stage, though. Dean, you used to be skinnier. You used to be skinnier. And then the last thing I want to say is the evening wear. If we put a suit on this candidate and he was in it, it would still be an empty suit. So what I'm trying to tell you here today is we've got candidates here that have different specificities of experience. We've got some that have got legislative experience, and we've got federal experience. We've got lawyers. We've got, you're rich. And Dr. Simon, you've got medical experience. So what I'm trying to say, there's a good example of people up here that want to be your leader. Check us out. Look at our experience. Who do you think would be the best candidate to run this state for the next 8 years? I think you're looking at that person, but there are some second places here that are pretty damn good looking.
I love John. I've adopted him as my brother. My life story has been faithfulness to a wife, children, and as a citizen. My story is also replete with commitment to God, Constitution, and conservatism. And I think when you're looking for a leader, you need to look at somebody who's willing to fight for values and ethics and never compromise those values and ethics. I have never compromised my ethics, morals, and values in my career and my life. And I have never succumbed to special interest, whether it's systems, hospitals, industry, or government. You should look at the candidates not only by their message, but who they are and where they get their funding. We are diminished, we're marginalized by special interests. We don't get what we want. So this is a very important thing for you to consider who you vote for. And I humbly ask that you consider me. But but I'm not a special interest candidate. I'm a faith-based constitutional conservative. Our brand in this party has been determined by you. Faith-based constitutional conservative. I'm Fred Simon. When you go to the voting box, you should check the box for me, because I am a faith-based constitutional conservative, and that's our brand. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is probably the most important election of our lifetime, hands down. This is for all the peanuts. This is for everything we hold dear. For the past 22 months, I've been in the fight every single day on my own time and on my own dime. And another thing that's important is I was the original Trump from the jump candidate. Well, these guys were still doing focus groups and polling of whether or not it was smart to get behind Trump. I did. At great personal cost to me and my reputation, because I knew that man was going to be as phenomenal as he was. And he is still our president in my eyes. Now, I believe I'm the only one who's got the experience, has the knowledge, and the moral courage to hand Sisolak the worst political beating of his lifetime. Now, another thing. When it comes down to people not doing their jobs, I will not lose a drop of sleep firing folks so fast their heads will spin. All right? That's what we need. We need accountability. And Michelle said something smart about actions speak louder than words. All right? I don't know what everyone else has been doing for the last 22 months, but I've been in the fight every day, not just in my own city or county, but across this state. And taking it a step further across this country. You know, General Flynn had a comment. He said, you know, local involvement, national impact. And that's what everyone needs to do. We all need to get involved. The apathy thing is what's going to kill us. We have the strongest messaging, we have the strongest party we've ever had. And if we don't take this state back now together, it's over. You guys think about this. This is it. This is our chance to come together, get behind. There's a right time, a right person for every moment in history. Who do you want standing fighting these guys? Who do you want in the trenches for you? Who's going to carry himself the right way and push back for you and your beautiful children? Who's going to fight for the children? I am. Vote for Joey Gilbert. Thank you.
All right. I think I'm the last one up here now, so I get an opportunity to thank the moderator. Thank you. Jesse, thank you for putting this together. I want to thank everybody that's here. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for your involvement and your enthusiasm. Believe me, it helped all of us. And, of course, I want to thank everybody that's up here on the stage. You know, they all love Nevada. They're all going to fight for Nevada. We're all going to do that because that's what we believe in, and I appreciate their hard work. You know what your government wants you to do? Your government wants you to go to school. Then they want you to get a job. Then your government wants you to work hard. And then they tell you play by all the rules. That's what your government tells you to do. And then after you do all that, they take all the money you earn and they give it to somebody else that hasn't followed any of the rules. That's what your government does. Now, when you run out of money, and you will, it's called big government socialism. When you run out of money, they start printing money. You know, they used to print by the millions. Then they started printing by the billions. And now they print by the trillions. We printed over $2 trillion last year for the first time. Our budget deficit was $2 trillion. By the way, our trade deficit was $1 trillion. $1 trillion. So this America First thing is going away very quickly with this president. What I'm trying to tell you is nobody in Washington, D.C. is going to fix it. Nobody's going to fix your problems that you have here in this room today. It's going to be done by your governor. And that's what's happening in Florida. That's what's happening in Texas. And that's what's happening in South Dakota. That's what means the most to me. That if I can be your next governor, that we can tackle the hardest issues that are in front of us. And that means getting rid of the crime problem. That means better schools. And that means making sure that people have better jobs. Those are the three most important things. So anyway, thank you for having me here. It's great to be part of this. And again, Victor, thanks for your time and energy.
Thank you. Well, before we welcome Pat back up here, let's thank all of our candidates, first of all, for leaving the bathing suits at home, but also for participating.
How about a big hand for Victor Jakes? Best writer in Las Vegas. We got some housekeeping to go before we leave. Another hand for all the candidates. These are great people. They showed up. They're here.